Hi, I'm Sean Walker from iTrain Hockey. Today we're going to be doing the full backwards crossovers in lines. We're just going to be doing it up and down the ice. We're going to teach one crossover each way. We'll also teach two crossovers each way, and we'll do it without puck control, and then we'll show you how to control the puck as well too. Okay, let's begin by breaking down the backwards, full backwards crossover. Whenever we skate backwards, we're actually not skating backwards, we're skating sideways. Think about it like that. So don't point your butt to where you want to go, instead point your hip to where you want to go. I'm indicating right now, if my hips and my toes face this way, that my left leg is going to begin with its C-cut. So keep in mind, whenever we do a full backwards crossover, we start with a C-cut, and then that same leg crosses over, and then we do an outside edge kick. If you need a review of that, make sure you watch the full backwards crossover video in a circle. So we're going to add one extra thing, one extra C-cut when we do a full backwards crossover. So we do our C-cut, we do our crossover with the same leg, we're going to do an outside edge kick, and then I want you to add one more C-cut with that left leg before switching to the next side. So keep in mind again, we point our toes towards these boards. I'm going to start with that C-cut. When you do your C-cut, begin to glide backwards on your right leg. And now when we do it in line, what's important is that we focus on our hips. My hips are directly facing these boards right now. When I do a C-cut, I'm going to open them up to about here. I'm going to do a crossover with that same leg, and it's going to open up just a tad little bit more. And then I'm going to do my outside edge kick. And then once I do the outside edge kick, my hips should almost open up right away before I do that very last C-cut. And then my hips will face these boards. And now they're perfectly lined up facing these boards to open yourself up for a right leg C-cut, a right leg crossover, and then an outside edge kick. And then open up to face these boards again. So all we're going to keep doing is just keep alternating between our left side and then our right side, and instead of thinking about it as in a straight line, we're going to be weaving down the ice. Okay, let's begin with one backwards crossover each way. So we're going to do a left leg C-cut, left leg crossover, a right leg outside edge kick, and then do one more left leg C-cut just before you switch to the next side, and then again we'll do it on the right leg side. So right leg, when you cross over, I want you to think about doing your right leg crossover, and instead of picking up your leg, almost just keep it on the ice and force this one in front by turning your heel in, and then your left leg is going to switch to its outside edge, and one will just be naturally forced in front of the other if you do that. If you only round out your heel to about this point, then you'll find you might need to actually pick up your leg to cross it over. So in order to keep it on the ice and keep more stability, turn that heel in, force this one in front, get your left leg on its outside edge, and then we should be able to just cleanly get to that outside edge crossover. All right, our main correction points that we want to focus on for our inline crossovers is that we don't want to just pick up our leg and then focus on the crossover and the kick. A lot of players, especially when they first begin, they don't start with the C-cut with their left leg. Instead, they literally just start with a crossover and then a kick. And it's almost like they want to just get into their C-cuts from there and keep alternating sides. So the main focus is as you're opening up your hips, we're also doing a C-cut. So I like doing this drill where sometimes we do a C-cut, we open up our hips at the same time, and we progress up the ice. And what we're doing is we're opening up our hips and we're doing a C-cut at the exact same time. So don't think about just opening up your hips and picking up your leg and crossing over. We got to start with that C-cut. One good C-cut can launch me this far, right? So let's make sure that the C-cut is the first thing that always begins. That's the main thing that I find a lot of players mistakenly forget. The next thing is if they do a C-cut with their left leg, they don't actually pick up, they don't actually glide on their right leg. I want you to really sit down on the right leg. The more we sit down on it, the more the faster we're gonna be able to glide onto that leg. So really sit down on it quite a bit. And then the last correction point is that we want to make sure that after you do your C-cut, your crossover, your outside edge kick, and then you do your last C-cut, always come back to a nice wide base. Once we come back to that wide base, one, it sets us up to do a crossover facing the other way, but it also helps us keep our stability. I always try to get my legs away from each other. I do my C-cut, and I do it nice and far, bend my right leg so that I can really extend that C-cut, do my crossover, there's still lots of space in between, and I'm still nice and stable. I'll do my outside edge kick, and then once I get into a nice wide base again, it just helps me set myself up for a stable stance. And a lot of players, they'll just mistakenly do their crossover, and they'll come back and their feet are quite close together. So make sure you have that nice wide base. Okay, we're going to move on now to 2 backwards crossovers, 2 full crossovers each way. The main focus here is instead of doing a C-cut, a crossover, a kick, and then opening up your hips to face these boards, now we're going to open up our hips a little bit slower, but our feet are going to move quite quickly. And then we're going to open up and do 2 backwards crossovers on the left side, open up to face these boards, and then repeat it. So do 1 crossover on the right leg, do another crossover on the right leg, and then open up and face this way. Keep in mind that the main focus whenever we're doing a full backwards crossover is that there's a push and then there's an equal glide. We have to glide on that leg just to keep it nice and smooth compared to a half crossover where it's a bit more choppy, right? So the main focus again is just keeping it nice and smooth. We'll do 2 backwards crossovers each way and we're going to weave, but we'll try to keep it a nice straight line. Okay, one main correction point that I want to make is we want to keep our feet really low to the ice. After you do your C-cut, the only thing that should pop off the ice is your heel. When you do your outside edge kick, you're naturally going to pick up your foot, but just barely pick it up. Almost like you're just kind of dragging your feet on the ice. Keep them really, really low to the ice. The last thing is both for the backwards crossovers, when we do 1 each way, but especially when we do 2, I see a few players try to do a C-cut with their right leg, and it's almost like they want to cross over with their left leg. So always just keep in mind that if we C-cut with our right leg, we're always going to cross over with our right leg. Okay, let's do the crossovers now, backwards crossovers. We'll do it with puck control. So the main thing is whether you're doing 1 crossover each way or you're doing 2 full crossovers each way, the main thing is if you're a lefty, the puck, and you're doing a crossover on your left leg, the puck is always going to be on the forehand side. And then whenever if you're a lefty, if you're crossing over on your right leg, then it's always going to be on your backhand side. That's the main thing. It wouldn't make sense for me to have it on the forehand side while doing a crossover off my right leg. It's just very natural that it should be on your forehand side when you're doing it on your left leg, and then vice versa on the right. The main focus on the forehand side is I like to fold my hands over quite a bit so that I have a full base for my puck. If I loosen up that grip a little bit, either I slide my hands up or the puck and the blade are not quite close to my nearest skate. If I sort of give myself some distance, then look at the puck, all of a sudden I don't have as much grip turning over top of the puck. We just don't want to pick at it. We want to be making a nice sweeping sound as we're skating backwards so that we have a tight grip. And then if we do that, then that puck has a nice full base. It's not going to skip underneath our blade or slip off of it. When it slips to the backhand side, I want you to rotate your wrist so that you're cupping the puck in the backhand. And again, it's like you're making that sound. And as long as we have that cup, we're flexing our stick, and it's almost like we have that grip once we rotate our wrist over. You're going to have a nice clean grip as you skate down the ice. The main focus is on speed with puck control.